Hey you guys, how's it going? Today is a sad day, right? It's gonna be my last YouTube video until I come back, or 9 weeks from today. Hopefully 9 weeks. Hopefully after 9 weeks, I'm gonna be able to make another YouTube video in AIT, but no promises because I don't want to let you guys down. Because I generally thank you guys for everything that you guys have done. Even if it's just a little bit of you guys matter to me a lot, and you guys have helped me see that it doesn't matter about how many of you guys watch, just about who watches. So I appreciate you guys a lot. With that being said, I'm not gonna get all emotional and shit. With that being said, we're talking about knife today. Let's talk chef. All right, you guys, so knives. We're gonna talk about what kind of knives there are, the anatomy of it, the build, right? And we're gonna talk about how to choose a knife. It's gonna be kind of long, but I think it's worth it because you guys are worth it. So. All right, so what is a knife? First of all, what is a knife? I know all you guys are gonna be like, oh, I already know what a knife is. It's the thing I have in my kitchen, you know, to cut stuff, food and whatnot. But the term or the definition of a knife is an instrument composed of a blade fixed into a handle used for cutting or as a weapon. Now, we're not gonna use it as a weapon because we don't do that. I mean, I know some stories in kitchens where they have done some stuff, but that is disrespectful not only to the kitchen, but the knife itself. So first of all, we're gonna talk about a chef knife. Now let me show you mine. Chef knife. Now this is mine. It is a mesomizer. It has olive wood, which makes it look so pretty. Look at that. Look how pretty that is. Look at that. I mean, yeah, these are from when I didn't really know how to sharpen a knife, but we learned. We got there. Beautiful. Love it. Still one of my favorite knives to use. One of my favorite by far. Not only because it's durable, has a nice weight, and it's super sharp. Contrary to what some people say or some of my colleagues thought, I love it. I love it. Now this knife is literally the most important tool we have in the kitchen that us cooks and chefs use. A chef knife, right? Because without it, we really can't do anything. So what type of knives are there? Let's go over them. Now it's important to remember though, that every culture or every place has their own type of knives, which basically do the same thing. They have different names, but they're practically the same for the same use. So we got a chef knife, santuko. We got a bread knife. We got a fillet knife. We got a boning knife. We got a cleaver. We have a slicing knife, and we have a paring knife. We also have a tournée knife, or also known as a peeling knife. Now each one of these knives has their own uniqueness to them and their own use, right? Like, let's talk about the chef knife. Chef knife is a multi-use, multi-item knife, which you could basically use for you could literally use this knife for anything in the kitchen. Next, we have the santoku knife, known by their full name, Santoko Boko knife, which basically translates into 3 uses. Their 3 uses are mincing, dicing, and slicing. Now they feature a straight edge with a narrow sheep's foot blade. Now these are more used for like vegetables and stuff of that sort. They come from the traditional Japanese straight edge knife, and that's the santoko. Next, we're gonna talk about the bread knife. Now the bread knife is obviously longer, used to cut either loaves of bread or cakes and stuff as such, but as you can tell the difference, it has serrated edge, which makes it way easier for cutting straight through the bread without breaking it. Next, we're gonna go to this fillet knife. Now, the difference between a fillet knife and a boning knife, which we're about to go over, is that the fillet knife is very flexible, easy to get in between the skin and fold. So this way, you don't really have to hold your hand straight, but you could just in one motion go, and it goes around the bones, so it doesn't cut through the bones if you don't want it to. Now, a boning knife is exactly that, is exactly how it sounds. It's used for, like, let's say fabricating chicken. It's used for cutting through certain joints and ligaments to get out that meat and basically bone protein. Now a slicing knife is a little different than a bread knife. As you can see, it doesn't have the same teeth that a bread knife has. It's more straight edge, and it's just used for slicing, like slicing ham, slicing straight through things, slicing. You could use it to slice bread, but it might break. And then we have a paring knife. A paring knife is a small multi-use little knife that we use for pretty much anything. We can use it for peeling, just as the tourné knife, or we could use it for cutting small vegetables. It's like a multi-tool, essentially. A lot of small things. And then last, we have a tourné knife or a peeling knife, which that little curve right there gives it the ability to peel better and cut certain items better. So those are the types of knife. All right, now let's talk about the anatomy of a knife real quick, which I'll use my knife to kind of show you guys, kind of like point it out. So this is the knife, right? This is a traditional chef knife. Now right here we have the tip of the knife, and this right here is called the spine. This right here is the heel of the knife. This part right here is the bolster. Now this bolster sometimes can come all the way down here, and it really impairs the knife, I think, personally, for cutting. This right here is the tang, which is basically the handle. And then this right here is the butt of a knife. Now in this handle, it has certain rivets to hold the knife in place. And then this right here is the edge bevel. It's really sharp, so I'm not gonna touch it, but we'll go over that later too, about bevels and all that stuff. So that right there is the anatomy of a knife. So now you know. All right, now that we know about knives, now that we know the knives now we know the types of knives. Now, how do we choose a knife, right? How next time you go shopping, you're like, oh, what kind of knife should I get? How do I determine what knife do I need? So like I said earlier, every type of knife has their own use. So go based off that. If you need to cut bread, if you're a freaking baker, then one, you could get a chef's knife. You can just have it really sharp. Or two, get a bread knife. If you never touch bread, then, or like, let's say you never touch bread, why would you get a bread knife? You know, obviously it's good to have it, but so one, figure out what you're gonna use it for. The next thing to figure out when you're choosing a knife is the length of a knife. Like, how long do you want it, or how short do you want it? Like, do you want an 8-inch traditional chef knife? Do you want a 10-inch one so you have more of a steel so you could cut more, or you're cutting bigger items? Or do you want a small 6-inch Sentoku? You know, like, you got to figure out what length fits better in your hand, or what length do you want, or what you're really going to use it for. All right, the next thing you're going to have to figure out is what kind of steel do you want your knife to be made out of? What material do you want your knife to be made out of? Now, the three most common, one of them being carbon fiber, there's also tool steel, and then stainless steel. Now, these are the three most common types of knives these are the three most common types of steels used in a knife. All right, so one of my favorites is this Miyabi Black series. It's made from MC66 steel. It's so beautiful, and this maple black ash wood is really, really nice. It's one of my favorites. It's one of my newest ones too. Also, one thing when choosing a knife, or when choosing a type of steel, you got to worry about the steel hardness of the knife, right? Like, how hard do you want it? Do you want a soft knife, or do you want a hard bladed knife? Meaning that if you drop a knife, the blade would either break or bend, essentially, or how rigid and sturdy the knife blade is, how flexible it has to do with it as well. And then 5 key properties that you got to look for in this steel as well is 1, like we just talked about, the hardness. 2, the toughness of the steel. 3, the wear resistance, like how long does it take for it to get, how well does it withstand damage and all that stuff to the knife itself, to the blade. 4th one is corrosion resistance, how long it's able to deter rust and corrosion on the steel itself. And then the 5th one is the edge retention, how long can it hold its edge for? Because it's very, very annoying, at least for me, it's very annoying when you're sharpening a knife and in 2 days it's dull again, and it's just so annoying. So that's some stuff you got to look for when looking at the steel that really makes a big difference. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is the shape, the weight, and the design of the knife itself is something else you really want to look forward to, because it'll depend on how it makes you feel when cutting stuff, or how easy it'll be to cut something. Like, how heavy do you want it? That affects the weight, right? It affects the thickness. I mean, like, the weight, that would affect the thickness of it. Like, do you want a thin knife, or do you want a thick knife? Both have their pros and cons, one of them being heavier, the other one being lighter, one of them being easier to cut through certain items, which is the thinner one, and the other one having the ability to cut through thicker and more heavier material. And then also with the handle, like, do you want the blade to automatically just turn into a handle? Like it basically is just a blade and then a big old handle like that. Or do you want the blade to kind of fade into the handle so it's easier grip? It feels better. At least personally for me, it feels better in the hand. It's not like so abrupt. And then also something else, which is the shape of it, right? It depends on whether it's gonna be, or rather the weight of it, sorry, is gonna be that if you want it to be handle heavy or blade heavy, meaning exactly how it sounds, you know? Like, do you want your knife, the steel part of your knife, to be heavier, or do you want the handle to have more of a grip, to be heavier, sturdier? It all depends on your preference. You have to figure this out before you go, or when you're at the shop, you're like, yo, can I feel the knife? Can I feel how heavy it is? Can I like just get a feel for it? You know what I'm saying? You got to test drive a car before you buy it, right? And then one of the last things you got to think about too is whether you want it to be singled or double beveled. The easiest way for me to explain this is that, let's say this is your edge, this is your blade right here, this is a double beveled. It has two sides that need to be sharpened, and it cuts straight down. Whereas single beveled, this is straight like this, and then you have one that comes like this. You only have one edge that comes like this. Now this is easier and better for more Japanese culture or Asian culture, where you cut a lot of fish and you really only need one edge cut through certain items. And this affects also the way you want to sharpen your knife in the future. Both of these types of bevels use different types of sharpening techniques to obviously get it sharpened, right? They're not the same. You could kind of use it the same, but they both desire their own type of sharpening method. And the last, but I'm gonna say the most important point that I have to give is the price of it, right? That should always be the first thought that comes to mind. Like, how much do you want to spend on the knife? Do you want to spend anywhere from like $5 anywhere up to like $30,000 for a knife? I've seen them. They're super, super nice. And I would only recommend, I don't even know if I'd recommend a $30,000 knife. I don't know. Put that down for a house or something. A good $200 knife is really all you need. Even a little cheaper, that's fine. You just gotta really live by your means and try to figure out what you're able to invest in a knife, because it's an investment. You know, you're gonna have it for a while, you're gonna use it for a long time. And if it's a cheaper knife, then obviously you're gonna have to buy another one. If it's a more expensive knife, then obviously that one's gonna last a little bit longer. But yeah, definitely figure out the price of the knife. And that's it for me, guys. That's it for me. I hope you guys learned something in this video. I hope now you're better able to choose a type of knife that you want. You know what type of knife you need, and you're able to decide all that stuff within your means, obviously. But now you know about knives, right? Now you're not gonna go into like a knife shop and let them kind of fool you. You already know better about the type of knife that you need, and now you know more about knives, right? Please, if you're not subscribed yet, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like the video, comment something that you guys found interesting, or something that I didn't really mention here about knives, but that you guys know, that you guys think that everybody would benefit from. I'm gonna leave my Instagram and TikTok links in the bio. Go ahead and click those and follow me there. It'll be easier for me to respond for you guys there, and I'm gonna try to make those videos too while I'm over there, if I am able to. And then I'm also gonna leave my Twitch link in the description as well. Go ahead and give me a follow there, and when I get back, we're going full throttle ahead, and we're gonna start Twitch streaming, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'll definitely see you guys in hopefully 9 weeks, but if not 9 weeks, then I will see you guys in 18 weeks. It's been real. I love all y'all. I appreciate the love and the support that you guys give me, and I'll see you guys then. All right, peace out, guys.